Read the standing orders. Read them and understand them.
Dear me.
Property developers prefer to get stuff done under permitted development. If you apply for full planning permission, then your scheme can get hauled in front of the dreaded planning committee. And as the citizens of Handforth in Cheshire have realised, their planning committees can descend into an absolute farce. So coming up, we're going to show you how planning committee meetings can descend into an absolute dog's breakfast. We're going to share with you why permitted development is the way to go. And I'm joined by my special guest, Alistair Cooper, who I like to call gamekeeper turned poacher. Former chairman of St.Albans Planning Committee, now a developer and permitted development fan himself, to explain to us a little bit about some of the process and the advantages of permitted development. That's all coming up. Stay tuned. Hi, my name is Ranjan Bhattacharya. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon. We put out videos each and every week, all focused about keeping you on top of your property investing game. Now, it's not every day that a Zoom call from a planning committee meeting goes viral. It's had some 300,000 views. I was looking at this morning on YouTube. It's the Handforth in Cheshire Parish Council Planning and Environment Committee. Now we're going to have a look at what went on. We're going to have a look at the types of planning schemes that actually get hauled up in front of committee. We're going to look at how to avoid committees like this by doing the permitted development route. And I'm joined by my special guest today, Alistair Cooper. Alistair Cooper was actually on one of my mastermind programs more than 15 years ago, former chairman of the St. Albans Planning Committee, but now we've managed to turn him to the side of light from the side of darkness, and he is a property developer actively doing permitted development himself. Alistair, great to have you on.
Good morning, Ranjan. Good to be with you. It's been a while.
It's been a while, but this clip, I think we better have a look at this clip and then have a chat about it, yeah? Let's just play this clip.
It's only the chairman who can remove people from a meeting. You have no authority here, Jackie Weaver. No authority at all.
She's just kicked him out. No, she's kicked him out. Don't. She's kicked him out. Don't.
This is a meeting called by two councillors.
Illegally?
They now elect a chairman.
No, they can't, because the vice chair's here. I take charge. Read the standing orders. Read them and understand them.
Dear me.
So, Alistair, you were chairman of a planning committee over in St. Albans. Were yours like that?
Well, not really. I mean, you need to have some gravitas as a chairman. You need to hold the thing together. I mean, I had some difficult moments, that's not to say, but I don't think I've never had anyone telling me to F off, even muttering under their voice. They might have done afterwards, but not to my face anyway.
So what sort of planning applications get hauled up before a committee like that?
Well, can be anything from a minor residential window change or an extension right up through to a major development. I mean, major developments will always find their way to committee, but smaller developments can be brought up to committee level even by a single resident objecting. If they manage to get hold of their councillor and the council member chooses to call something into committee, then that will bring it to the table.
So have you been in front of the dreaded planning committee? What's been your experience? Has it been a farce or has it been quite good? Let us know in the comments below. Now, the problem I've found, because I've attended a few of these committees and had a lot of fun I say fun in inverted commas in the past. The problem is that your application can get hauled in front of a committee if it's a full planning application. And the other problem is you have the planning officers who are meant to have some training in planning policy, law and all the rest of it. But the councillors are just lay people who really like a bit of power, isn't it? Or am I being a bit mean?
Well, very much can be the case. I mean, certainly with the Handforth case that's gone viral this morning, I mean, that's very much a parish council. So at least, I say in inverted commas, at least they only have the ability to comment and influence an application. They can't actually make a final decision. That will always be taken by the district committee, which you tend to find district councillors are a lot more, especially now with the new committee system, they tend to be a lot more professional and they spend a lot more time. And there's also party discipline. I mean, it's always a bit of an anathema. I was told that the planning committee wasn't political, but you soon find out when you're on it, it's actually the most political of all the committees that are held on a local authority council. But anyway, I mean, it's interesting that, yes, there's a lot of shenanigans about applications that get heard in April because the local elections tend to be in May. So I certainly recall from my own experience, one particular application, St.Albans, I better not mention the street name, but it was a perfectly reasonable application. And every minor reason possible was found to delay it so that it would be heard at the subsequent late May or June meeting, so that the local members' re-election wouldn't be affected, shall we say.
So it can be a real mess. And one of the beauties of permitted development is permitted development applications cannot be brought in front of a planning committee.
No, that's quite right, Ranjan. I mean, I used to undersell my own courses, and I used to introduce myself as the planning game and then turn around and say, well, the best way to play the game is to avoid getting involved with it altogether. And I mean, that still very much runs true. And yes, of course, if you can find a route, and there's a lot more opportunities now, as you've commented on, but you can find a route to utilise permitted development and keep out of the planning system altogether, everything's going to be more predictable for you and you're going to have a much easier and quicker ride.
So you're doing some prior approval applications at the moment. And of course, you do have to fill in a prior approval form, and there's a 56-day process to getting your permission. But the key thing is, there is, for most of the prior approvals, there is a checklist of stuff that you have to conform to, and you then pretty much get it. But what they can't do is haul it into a bunfight committee meeting.
No, that's quite right, Ranjan, because there's no planning considerations in regards to a prior approval application. As you say, it's a checklist process. So as long as you understand, or you get a planning consultant to go through the checklist with you and you present your application properly, you've got to make sure you present the application properly, because if you make a mistake, all it does is kickstart the 56 days again. So you could end up on the treadmill as such. But no, get your application, a good high quality application in, and they may ask you to extend the 56 days and agree to an extension. You'd be pretty churlish if you refuse. But generally, certainly within a couple of weeks after that, you'll get the go-ahead, and then you can start.
If you're enjoying this video, make sure you smash that like button. Also, click that bell icon so you get notified as soon as we upload a new one. So, Alistair, we managed to convert you over to the light side from the clutches of planning committees and all of that. And you've done some very exciting developments in your time, including a B8, which is light industrial to residential conversion under permitted development. Now, viewers of this channel will know that that particular permitted development was withdrawn in 2020, so you can't do that anymore. But the people that got in early have managed to get a scheme in the bag without going through planning, which they may not have got through planning. Tell us a little bit about that scheme. It's a light industrial unit. What are you making it into?
That's right, Ranjan. Yes, it's in Markyate in Hertfordshire, and it was a former factory unit. It was occupied as an engineering workshop on the ground floor and offices on the first floor. So interestingly enough, you could still convert the first floor now because that was office use.
Yes.
But anyway, it was mixed use. And so we originally applied for PD back in 2019. So we managed to beat the deadline that stopped that happening. But you'd have never got full planning for it because
Why?
it has very limited amenity space. Because factories by their very nature don't tend to have large gardens, and also unfortunately there's no parking. Well, there wasn't at the time, so you could have made a full planning application, but it would have been a fool's race because you just got turned down on the lack of parking and the lack of amenity space, especially in a village location.
Or hauled in front of a dreaded planning committee.
Indeed, it would have ended up. It actually would have ended up at a parish planning committee, being Markyate being a small village. In fact, we did get objections from the parish council, even when we put in the PD. But their objections were based on the lack of parking, which is because of the beauty of PD is that the parking isn't an issue, so it's not part of the checklist.
They can't do anything about it.
Their comments were worthless. Yes,
and I've seen some of these for PD that we have done, and I love this because when you submit a prior approval for permitted development, you still have to submit it to the council. And they pass it around their other departments, highways and environment and people like that for their comments. And some of them, send back their comments because these are all public records. You can see this on any council website for any applications that you've got in the mill. But say, the environmental officer may make a comment and he'll add it at the bottom of his comment, I think this one should be brought in front of the planning committee. And then when you see the case officer's report, they answer the comment by saying, unfortunately, this is, or they don't use the word unfortunately, but they say, this is prior approval and can't be brought into planning committee. They actually have to write that. So it just shows that even these people in the council often just don't know what they can and can't do under prior approval or PD or planning. They don't know the differences. They think they have power over everything.
Oh, certainly prior approval and PD are hated by the sort of the professional classes, would you say, within the planning system that actually administer the scheme. And I mean, they were very fearful about the changes that have just come through. But there you go. I mean, the system had to be loosened up, didn't it? I mean, we had the situation where achieving full planning was taking 3 to 4 years in some instances. There was this constant, backwards and forwards, like a never-ending squash match between the developer and the council. And planning applications could be delayed for the most minor of reasons or queries. I mean, this happened to me one evening. The committee ended up with 13 members, unfortunate number. There was 6 for the development, 6 against, and I was left as chairman with a casting vote. I didn't want to take the casting vote, so I just got the council appointed head of planning to find a reason to go back to the developer and query something, and that delayed the application for another 3 months. I wouldn't dare do something like that now I'm on the other side, but there you go.
This is the problem with committee, because there is a tendency for anything just to get delayed. And if they feel they are, this is my personal view, if they feel they're on a losing streak, they'd rather delay it than give a no. They have to give the no eventually. I mean, we had a case years ago where my architect was with me, and some neighbours were complaining about that they couldn't speak to any of the people on site because they were Polish and speaking in Polish. So my architect just said about the language problem. He just said, well, that's because they're Poles. They speak Polish. So the chairman of the committee stopped the meeting and said, we can't proceed with this particular case. We need to find out whether the use of the word Poles is actually racist. And he deferred my whole application to the next meeting. So, I went online and then, come up with all sorts of, in that same week, the BBC used the word Poles, all sorts of Times, newspapers. Pole, you're from Poland. There's nothing sort of racist about it, but it was just used to delay the decision, which we eventually got, by the way. But I've seen a lot of these farces.
Indeed. I mean, that's the whole problem, isn't it? We're going through planning. It's the lack of predictability. You never know how long it's going to take to either achieve permission or not to achieve it, as the case may be. Whereas with prior approval and PD, as you say, you know that certainly within 4 months anyway, you're going to be digging in the ground. Simple as that.
So that's your preference now, is it? If you see 2 deals on the table, one involves planning permission to get what you want, one involves prior approval.
Yes, I mean, if it requires planning, you've basically got to be willing to put your cash into the deal and never know when you're getting it out. It's as simple as that. The deal would have to be so attractive that you can park the cash. I mean, obviously, you can speak to a planning consultant or someone with a bit of wool on their back in terms of experience and get a flavour and get an idea of how likely you are to achieve planning. But obviously, if you can take the PD route, why wouldn't you? It's just that it's far more predictable, and you just know what you can do and what you can achieve. So therefore, you can get your numbers right from day one.
Well, Alistair, I'm very glad that you are now on our side and not on the planning committee. Thanks for joining us and giving us your insights.
You're very welcome, Ranjan, anytime.
And that's all for this video. Keep watching, keep tuned. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon as well.